A fish might be the last to notice water. This analogy can be used to explain why we may not know and understand our culture until we are outside of it. Test your knowledge by answering Ghana, Vietnam, or Germany to the following questions. In which country is football or American soccer the dominant sport? In which country do you find women to be underrepresented in politics? In which country do you find cell phones, email, and ATMs? In which country do you find villages? In which country can one readily find locally produced wine? Which country shows red and yellow on its flag? In which country is it the norm to air dry or sun dry clothes versus using a machine dryer? Which country has traffic circles or roundabouts? Which country experienced a major political, social movement in the 20th century connected to imperialism or colonialism? The answers to all of the above: Ghana, Vietnam, and Germany. So despite their many differences, there too exist similarities. Based on observational, ethnographic, and interviewing research, this video captures only some norms and values in each country. It is not meant to be a definitive video on the cultures highlighted, but a descriptive video based on cross-cultural qualitative research. Specific focus will be given to the following: greetings, language, food production and consumption, gender, family, economics, education, and healthcare. As you consider these norms and values, compare them to the culture around you. Sometimes we can better understand our normal environment when we are removed from it. As we venture into this cross-cultural comparison, consider the distinction between a high-context culture versus a low-context culture. A high-context culture is one in which people are expected to give everything. People live on top of each other. They constantly share information through intricate networking and personal communication. Both Ghana and Vietnam can be characterized as high-context cultures or Gemeinschaft-oriented, a German word for community. Even Germany maintains these close connections in its villages. A low-context culture exists when people live in isolation from others. For example, behind closed doors and in their own rooms. Personal privacy and space are respected, and lives are compartmentalized. Germany represents such a culture, which is Gesellschaft-oriented, meaning society in German. Even in Ghana and Vietnam, this low-context culture has emerged in the cities. Let's begin with Ghana, since Africa is the birthplace of humanity. Located in West Africa, on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, Ghana, formerly known as the Gold Coast, is a multi-ethnic country consisting of 10 regions with over 75 dialects spoken, English being the law or official language, a remnant of British colonialism.
Hausa, Moshi, Dagbani, English, Twi.
Listen to Irene Abiti illustrate her multilingual greetings.
Whenever I want to greet, they say Ndi, and the response is Ndi Pemeto, Edo. That is to English. Good morning, how are you? Fine. How is everybody? Everybody is fine. That is the meaning of the greeting I just said in Ewe. When we come to Twi people welcomes people by saying Akwaba. Then you respond by saying Yaena, Yeja. That is if the person is a lady, Yaena. If it's a man, Yeja. That simple means you are welcome. Thank you in English.
Another folk way used in everyday greetings is the snap.
You already told something.
Speaking Tree, the Ashanti people comprise the largest ethnic group or tribe. Great value in the Ashanti region is placed on royalty, as the Ashanti have the only king in Ghana. Nearly every village in Ghana has a chief and a queen mother. Regardless of region, most Ghanaians have several names: a Christian or Muslim name, a traditional or local name, and possibly a name for the day of the week on which they were born, in addition to the last name or surname. The oral tradition is valued in Ghana. However, many traditions have dissolved due to the adoption of colonial ways. One measure of the influence of the oral tradition would be the local proverbs.
Sia with jinaho. In the English version, a bird has to fry before he eats. If a bird doesn't fry, it won't eat.
It is not uncommon to resolve conflicts through the use of proverbs, especially amongst the older population. The Ghanaian language is circular in many senses. Hearing the language could sound like music to American ears, considering the octaves and intonations. The circular nature of Ghanaian culture is also sensed when one person is leaving others. Instead of saying goodbye, Ghanaians say, "I will go and come back," or "me cobra." Another measure of the circle. One young Ghanaian told me, Ghanaians have an obligation to each other. We're told that giving will have a positive effect on you later. Relishing in the constant connectedness of everything, a traditional value in Ghana is communalism, which corresponds to unity and sharing with others. This is exhibited in the sharing of beds, bowls of food, bathhouse, kitchen, money, and other resources. A measure of this value can be seen amongst adults of the same sex who frequently walk holding hands, which is merely a folkway, symbolizing friendship and nothing else. One Ghanaian phrased the communal value this way: "You don't get what you want, but what others want for you." Another measure of communalism is shown here with these farmers who communally, as a group, own and work the land. The major cash crop harvested in Ghana is the cocoa plant. An agricultural-based economy, Ghana relies on farmers for much of the diet. It is a folk way for women to do the majority of the cooking, which is often performed outdoors. However, even young boys and girls learn how to cook. The Ghanaian diet is heavily starch-based, including foods such as rice, fufu, banku, using plantain, corn, bananas, yams, or cassava to produce some of these dishes. In urban or rural areas, one can easily observe the afternoon folkway of pounding fufu, often by men. The fufu is then consumed with spicy, tasty soup, eaten with the fingers of the right hand, as the left hand has other uses. One Ghanaian friend told me digestion starts not in the mouth, but in the fingers, molding the food before entering the mouth. Fufu is not to be chewed, but merely swallowed. Fish such as tilapia and meats such as beef, goat, or chicken are readily eaten. Delicious tropical fruits include bananas, pineapple, coconut, papaya, and mango. Ghanaian life is intricately connected to the outdoors and nature, reflecting a subsistence lifestyle. This subsistence can be measured by considering the uses of a corn husk, to wrap a local food called kenke, to use as a washcloth, to start a fire, or to use in place of toilet paper. Cooking, eating, laundry, showering, and even television viewing can all take place outside. The local herbs, plants, and trees serve as medicine. For example, dandelion leaves or bitters, an alcohol made from the mahogany tree, or lemongrass tea may be consumed to prevent or treat malaria. Traditional herbalists still provide these remedies. It is also common to see people consume Western medicine to treat an illness. The pharmaceuticals are easy to purchase, providing one has the funds, as the law does not require a prescription from a doctor prior to purchasing drugs at the pharmacy. A highly religious country, the core of Ghanaian culture can be considered religion. Specifically, belief in God and religious tolerance are highly valued. Atheism would be a violation of the mores and would be certain cause for distrust. Many political, social, and community events begin in prayer or a religious song. The most widespread religion is Christianity, followed by Islam, followed by traditional religion. African traditional religion is deeply connected to nature and the earth. Mores in the villages and amongst traditional people are more likely to connect to the small gods of nature. In any large town or city, it is common to hear prayers at the Muslim mosques 5 times a day. Even non-Muslims respect this practice. Muslim holy days like Ramadan in November are publicly acknowledged. References to Christianity are many. A common belief in Ghanaian culture is God's time is the best. Ghana is a polychronistic society. The Western concept of time is not highly valued. In a polychronistic, high-context culture, life revolves around people and relationships and is not time-bound. Waiting for anything is normal in Ghana. I heard a reference to African flexible time, or AFT, meaning time is regarded in a more casual, relaxed, carefree manner. One Ghanaian remarked to me, "Time is what helps the West advance because they value it." Passing or death is similarly regarded in a more flexible, flowing, celebratory way. An important social and cultural event, a funeral is certainly one way to honor the spirit of the deceased in order for the ancestor to assist the living. Religious and often spiritual, funerals are reserved for Saturdays, but the funeral rites may last over a several-week period. Funerals are jovial and involve dancing and singing. They are a tribute to the life of an ancestor. The extended family is highly valued and common. Kinship or family ties are extended in many directions. When married, the in-laws become family. In fact, one does not marry an individual, but an entire family. Family includes cousins, aunts, and uncles. Women can be referred to as mommy or aunt. Men are referred to as uncle. These labels apply even if one is not related by blood, marriage, or adoption. The strong family ties also serve to reinforce values of communalism as well as respect for the elders. In a typical Ghanaian household, decision-making always involves the input of the elder. Although children are an important value, it is considered a violation of amore to speak against an elder. Physical punishment of children tends to be a folkway, modeling after the biblical reference, spare the rod, spoil the child. Marrying multiple wives is practiced in Ghana, more so among Muslims, at least among Christians. Asana, a young Muslim, expresses her views on polygamy.
If I know my husband can care with 2, me and my friend, I can allow her to marry again. But if I know he can't care for all of us, I will not allow him to marry 2 wives or 3.
A legacy of colonialism, patriarchy, or male dominance is a norm in many families, yet some gender balance is found in some social institutions. For example, the Queen Mother's role to the chief or king provides gender balance. The Queen Mother can veto the candidacy of a new king or chief if she feels he is not quality material. She also serves to represent the interests of the women in the Gemeinschaft. The talking drum also represents gender balance, a form of communication between a woman and a man. Also, the drums can be used to teach mores to the young. Music is highly valued in Ghana, as there is a range of music to be heard, ranging from the traditional to country to high life to reggae to hip-hop. More common in villages, traditional drumming may be observed at the beginning of a school day, when calling a meeting to order, and for funerals and weddings. Traditionally, the family and oral traditions provided informal education to the young. Today, formal education is a value, yet it comes with a price tag, as does healthcare, unemployment, and nearly all forms of social welfare, as the welfare state is virtually non-existent in Ghana. Parents must pay school fees for children, which may range from $20 to $500 annually, depending on the grade and the school. Many parents cannot afford these school fees, so countless children do not receive formal schooling. Attending university is highly desired but costly. A gender imbalance characterizes the student population at most levels of schooling, including the universities, where the majority of college students are males. Generally, all students in primary through secondary school must wear school uniforms. A gender law in most schools is for boys and girls to wear their hair very short, possibly to reduce the difference, competition, or beauty. A barrier to true political and economic autonomy, the educational system remains colonial. Instruction from Western books and content, which is often culturally irrelevant, despite the fact Ghana achieved independence from England in 1957 via the leadership of nationalist President Kwame Nkrumah.
Africans basically have the attitude of believing that anything outside their continent is better than what they have inside. We need to change our attitudes to accept ourselves first, that there's a gap, there's a trade deficit, and we need to borrow money to finance these deficits. And so these monies are borrowed from multilateral institutions such as the IMF and World Bank and some other bilateral institutions or arrangements. And then the certain conditions are attached to these facilities. And in many cases, you realize that the conditions tend to serve new colonial interests rather than the interests of the people that these credit facilities are supposed to serve.
Defined by the United Nations as a highly indebted, poor country, Ghana remains dependent on foreign aid. For an American, the dollar would go far. In 2005, $1 equals 8,900 cedis, the local currency. One may purchase the land and materials to build this house for under $20,000, which most Ghanaians cannot afford. Informal bribery tends to be a folkway when completing transactions. Passing some cedis may translate into getting what you want or need. Also, bartering for the best price is a folkway. Never pay the asking price at the market. According to the UN, the global definition of poverty is living on less than $1 per day. And certainly many people do live below this level, if not slightly above it in Ghana. Though the exact numbers who live below the poverty line is nearly impossible to determine. Especially, women are marginalized in the economy as they have less political and social power and capital. Rural women have incredible and insurmountable challenges to achieve credit or monies from banks. Thus, the need for microcredit programs, such as Africa Alive Microcredit Association, which provides small loans to low-income earning women. Women use these monies to gain or improve their profession, to pay school fees for the children, or simply to help provide food and clothing for the family. Typical professions for women are seamstress, hairdresser, farmer, market woman, or trader. Babies often accompany mothers to work. Typical professions for men include carpentry, taxi driver, manual labor, or teacher. Teaching is a guaranteed job in Ghana, yet the pay is so low that for many it is the occupation of last resort. The law requires college or university graduates to complete 1 year of national service in which they work for pay doing service for their country, such as teaching. As we leave Ghana, various connections can be found to the U.S., in some cases Americanization of Ghanaian society. Many of the rhythms of African American spirituals, blues, and hip-hop music originated in West Africa. Currently, the U.S. music industry impacts the youth, as the likes of Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Phil Collins, Whitney Houston, and Dolly Parton are frequently heard blaring from the radio or CD players on the streets. Adaptations from hip-hop are integrated with the local high life to create a new music, hip life. With the onset of Americanization, materialism, and individualism are increasingly the focus of the young and fear of the elders. A legacy of colonialism is the Ghanaians' desire for any product made outside Ghana, even though the same good may be produced in Ghana. Encouraged, if not expected by many parents, many Ghanaians seek to travel out of Ghana. This can also lead to brain drain, as is the case with Ghanaian doctors, more outside than inside the country. Plenty of businesses will assist in procuring visa materials to travel out. Yet, it is not uncommon for a Ghanaian to be refused visa to travel to the U.S. or England. Even the high fees for this request are not reimbursed. Many internet cafes have surfaced throughout the urban and sometimes rural landscape. This certainly increases communication with Americans and all foreigners. One can even take an entire course on North American history and geography in secondary or high school. One can readily find books in the library and bookstore shelves that emanate from the U.S. African Americans and their communities can be found in Ghana.
I'm leaving for America, and I'm feeling really depressed and down because I feel that I belong here in Ghana. I love not being a minority, but being part of the majority.
Many travel to learn about the roots and ancestors, in addition to the atrocity of the transatlantic slave trade, which forced many of their ancestors out of Africa. Here is an inside look at Elmina Castle, where many Africans were held prior to the trip in captivity across the Atlantic to the Caribbean and later to the U.S. Even sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois, co-founder of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, repatriated to Ghana in 1963 to work on an African history series in conjunction with the Nkrumah government. He is buried in Ghana. African Americans would be sure to find in Ghana the roots of some of their cultural practices in the U.S., such as hair braiding, the extended family, or the homegoing celebration for funerals. A medicinal treatment for skin ailments, shea butter, is an ingredient found in perfumed lotions sold in the U.S. It is manually produced by these women in northern Ghana.